morning, everyone, and welcome back to Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. And today, it's not just me yapping. I've got a wonderful, super special guest, Matty Kiwoom, joining us again on the show. My fellow trade guide, the man over at South Harmon now, doing some incredible fantasy football content. And I've got to go ahead and say, guys, we talked it up pre-show. The beard is looking mint. Got a very handsome guest today. I'm just so excited that Matty Kiwoom back on the show. So go ahead, take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I'm in, Matty. How you doing?
What's up, Jason? The intro was very flattering. Had my cheeks all red and rosy. It's nice to chat it up with you again, being on Wake and Take. You know, every time we do it, it's like, feels good to be back. Feels great to be back.
There's like, you know, there's certain combos throughout history that we all like. Like, you know, you've got the Tom Brady to Randy Moss 2007 connection.
Great connection.
You've got the Matthew Stafford to Calvin Johnson. You know, we're getting the Sam Darnold to Justin Jefferson. But I don't know if any of those compare to when Jason Allwine and Matty Kiwoom were sharing the mic on a fantasy football show.
Goes together like lamb and tuna fish. Peanut butter and jelly. Spaghetti.
I heard the lemon to the fish a lot. Is that a Boston saying? I know you guys like your seafood.
I don't know. No, that's from what's that? What's the Adam Sandler movie? He says it goes together like peanut butter and jelly,
like
spaghetti and meatballs. And he says lamb and tuna fish, and they're like, lamb and tuna fish? What? Lamb and tuna fish.
Glad to have you back, man. That's how you know. That's how you know. Bringing out the Adam Sandler quotes this early. We're buckled up. We're good to go, man. I see you got the Expo shirt on. Sure, you had a great time there.
Oh, yeah.
Fantasy football is kicking. I mean, geez, what a time to be alive. Matty, I want to talk before we get into shop, right? Before we get into the shop. We had some football last night, and I guess it's technically shop talk, but I kind of just want to get some of your reactions. We'll start with CeeDee Lamb. Sounds like, or it looks like, I guess, his engines are starting to get going. 7 receptions, 98 yards, and a touchdown. Are you starting to feel a little bit more happy with maybe some of those 101 CeeDee Lamb shares as we get through the season?
I've been happy because he's not hurt.
Because he's not McCaffrey.
That's been the echoes of the first round. I mean, even Amon-Ra's been banged up. It's took a couple games for CeeDee Lamb. I mean, Jamar Chase to fire, but I will say I don't think this is the game in which the breakout happened. I still think that's on the docket because if you get that, that a lot of leagues have the 100-yard bonus. 2 yards shy, CD.
Yeah.
Oh, we needed one more catch for 2 yards, 3 yards, and it would have been that much better of a day for fantasy, but we're happy with it. They were going to him often, and it was effective in the first half. They kind of shied away in the second. Probably had to do something with the Giants kind of shading the coverage a little differently, making adjustments, but it's the CeeDee Lamb show. It's the Jake Ferguson show when it comes to the passing game for the Dallas Cowboys, and you like to see it. Anytime CeeDee Lamb can come out and put up 25-ish points higher, you got to be happy with it.
Definitely. Yeah. No, it was nice to see. I mean, it was a fun little touchdown grab. He obviously gets the catch, jukes out the guy, gets to the end zone. Classic CeeDee Lamb, broken play touchdown. But that's what you just come to see from this guy. And he just does it time and time and time and time again. Consistently, just a top fantasy wide receiver on this offense. So it's good to see him kind of get that touchdown, get that close to 100 yards already. I know last year he started off slow, so we're very much just kind of on almost the same trajectory where he's just going to start just ramping up as the season goes along. And it's kind of crazy to see. I mean, I know that I was kind of taking some shots on Brandon Cooks and best ball and if he was available on some waiver wires, just because I thought, he should get a lot of volume, but I mean, really, it's like you said, it really is the CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson show. Jalen Tolbert had a week with Ferguson out. Cooks was fine in week 1, but if you want a Cowboys pass catcher right now, it's just Lamb and Ferguson, really. I think the rest are shaping up to be some roster cloggers. Even my Ryan Flournoy keeps getting the healthy scratch. It's hard to watch.
Be on the lookout, though. If you want a sneaky ad in this run of waivers next week, Hunter Lubke is a sneaky ad. Yeah, this is now 2 weeks in a row where he's on the field in marquee moments. And when the competition is Zeke Elliott and Rico Dowdle, there will be opportunities for other players. And if he continues to get the trust, he's in, 2 targets, caught them both 14 yards. They went to him, I think it was on 4th down even. And
Yes,
there's a
they
flag.
did.
There's so many flags. But yeah, Heider Lubke has been, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to be at him in a few of my deep dynasty leagues for sure.
I mean, because think about it, right? Like you said, Ezekiel Elliott, Rico Dowdle. It's looking like Hunter Lupke is kind of being what they were hoping Deuce Vaughn could be. Deuce Vaughn just too undersized, but they still do kind of want someone to catch passes out of the backfield, and Lupke's got the size too. And he looked pretty decent last night. He really did in his limited touches. So I think that's a really fun call, actually. I like that. Yeah. Rubio even asks, has Dalvin even touched the ball? And I think no. I don't.
He hasn't even been active. I don't think
Yeah,
they haven't even activated him.
So
they know he's dusty. They saw what we saw last year. It's not a surprise. For every time a guy comes back like an Austin Eckler at 30 years old, there's a handful that can.
Yeah.
This weekend maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll maybe have some talks on older running backs a little bit later. I want to move to the Giants side of the ball because we'll talk about Malik Neighbors and kind of some of the rookie hype in a bit, as that's today's thumbnail title. But I want to talk about Wan'Dale Robinson because he's consistently being used, and in PPR leagues, he's almost looking like a cheat code. 14 targets in this game, 11 receptions for 71 yards. He's had the touchdown this season, not in this game, but he's getting some incredible usage with Malik Neighbors kind of taking away all the coverage and him just being available underneath. They're looking his way. Seems he's kind of getting the Saquon usage in terms of just the short, intermediate pass catch work. And he's looking good with it. He's making some very clutch plays, looking like a good route runner, looking good after the catch. Wan'Dale Robinson, available in a ton of leagues, probably not in any you're in. But if you had Wan'Dale Robinson, are you just holding on to this asset?
I sold low, mainly for a roster construction trade. It was not really a good trade. It'll probably be something I regret pretty heavily. But I think I'm holding. I don't think I'm selling high. You're not getting anything for Wan'Dale. No one's offering you a second for Wan'Dale. Yeah. No one's giving you. You're not getting into any type of prospects that you're excited about. I'm holding. And then, come playoff time, I think this is when things will heat up for a guy like Wan'Dale, as long as he can stay healthy. That's been his biggest issue. But yeah, I'm holding on unless someone wants to blow my doors off and offer like a second. But I'm not taking a third at this point. Thirds don't do anything for really changing the landscape of your build.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you get a third, you're clearing up a roster space in the hopes of getting Wan'Dale Robinson next year with that third round pick.
Yeah, right. You can move your third. If someone thinks that they're getting one over on me by giving me Wan'Dale Robinson for a third, I'm doing it. Yes. So that's actually what I did. I traded a third for Wan'Dale. I was like, all right. And then this past week, because I have Jaden Daniels, I traded him for Cam Akers and Luke McCaffrey because I wanted some sort of potential stack. So I don't know if I'm going to like that trade because Wan'Dale's kind of a great emergency flex to have. But he's been good. There's really just no point in moving. There's just unless you get what you want. But he's been good in PPR.
Yeah. One of my comps and really my only comp for Wan'Dale Robinson is Zay Flowers, right? Like I know that he's younger than Zay Flowers, but he's been in the league longer, which is interesting. But they're both basically the same exact profile. One's just on a worse offense. And generally, you don't want the one on a worse offense. But this Giants team is passing the ball a lot and giving it all to Wan'Dale Robinson. So purely from like a seasonal roster construction standpoint, would you rather even have Wan'Dale Robinson or Zay Flowers on your team right now?
I'm taking Zay all day. Zay Flowers is going to go berserk in these next couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. They just did not need him last week, 4 targets. But before that, the first 2 weeks, he was getting double-digit targets. And when you look at, fantasypoints.com, they run that separation score.
Yeah.
And Zay gets separation in a bunch of different routes, whether it's slant routes, out routes, digs. He's still awesome. Wan'Dale is still so and Wan'Dale is just not quite there yet. But I mean, if you can get Zay Flowers for Wan'Dale, I'm doing that 10 out of 10. Because I still think the best days for Zay Flowers are ahead of him, where I think we're seeing the best days of Wan'Dale right now. And what we're unfortunately not seeing is success for the Giants.
Right.
Sometimes this part of the year we'll see game plans start to shift. I wonder if they get away from some of these mediocre passes to Wandale that's really not going anywhere. It's not really moving the ball downfield. So we'll see. I like Wandale. I'm not ready to anoint him over Zay Flowers yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, ultimately it's going to come down to the value, but I mean, you're getting a lot of the same production in the same type of ways with these two players. So it is definitely, I think, interesting to keep to at least make note of. Like if you had a Zay Flowers and you like that archetype, I wouldn't mind shopping him for Wandale plus. You know, if you can get a nice cherry on top, I think that could be an interesting trade.
You're going to get a fat cherry on top too. So, I mean, if you're 0-3, the problem is now you can't move Wandale until next Tuesday. Yeah. So you might be 0-4. Yeah. But yeah, if you want to tear down, the second piece should be really, really juicy. So if you're desperate 0-4, 1-3, it's a tear down that you can absolutely start building, especially in seasonal. In Dynasty, I'm not doing that, but seasonal, you can take a shot. When you're 0-4, you're really your back's against the corner. Your season's just about done. You got to do whatever you can. You got to start throwing haymakers with your eyes closed. And Zay Flowers for Wandale Robinson, and let's call it
Jonathan Brooks. Yeah, James Cook.
I don't know about. I am a little bit happier about Brooks, given the offense may have come to life last week. Yeah, but yeah, I think if give me Rashad White and Wandale, I think the second piece would be a starting top 12-ish back. I think you are in that ballpark, and if that's the case, and I'm if I'm losing, you got to turn things around.
Yeah, I like that call. So that's some Wandale Robinson discussion. Let's get into the man of the hour. And we'll kind of use this as a segue into the next segment as well. But Malik Neighbors, he is basically the dude. You know, they what he's putting out there right now is honestly just insane. Had another 15-plus targeter game, and this one brings in 12 of those 15 targets for 115 yards. Looking incredible, making some great catches, doing the whole first down swagger move. I mean, like, he just looks like a stud out there. Let's just hype him up, right? Like, let's just hype up him and then the rest of these rookie wide receivers. With Malik Neighbors playing at where he's at, would you take him over Jamar Chase yet?
No. We saw Jamar Chase go. But I mean, he's in that conversation. These rookies, we knew this. We've said this. This is not shocking to any of us that really studied this class. It was so good at the top. And now we've seen breakouts from all three guys. Malik Neighbors is awesome. If you want to, and I hate that analysis. That's not good analysis, but what do you got in the driveway? A Lamborghini or Ferrari? If you're at that tier, you're at that tier. What do you want me to say?
You're right. No, I mean, that's just a question I've been seeing. I mean, like, we're hearing a lot of Malik Neighbors as the dynasty wide receiver 1 hype. And as much as I like what I'm seeing, I just don't think I could do that over Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson. And I'm still not sure. Sorry, what'd you say?
He's just he's there. It's pick your flavor. Pick your flavor. If you want to split hairs. They're all awesome. They're so good. They're all young. And Jamar Chase is the only one that has a bit of a question mark. They're all locked into their second contracts, or in Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison, Rome Odunze's case, they're still in their rookie contract, obviously. Mm-hmm. They're in good situations. I love them all.
Yeah, I yesterday made an addendum to the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase rule. And it isn't if I'm trading Jamar Chase for Justin Jefferson plus whatever. It is now a new rule. If I'm trading Malik Neighbors, I want Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, okay, makes sense. Yeah.
If I'm trading Marvin Harrison Jr., I want Malik Neighbors plus. I think that we're talking about two different almost elite wide receiver tiers now, where they're both tier 1, right? The Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., and then the Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson tier. That is kind of one, but given that the Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors are just now rookies, I think they're like half a step below, kind of in their own thing. And so we're going with the Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson rule, adding that. Now Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors. Just incredible performance from Malik Neighbors so far, and Marvin Harrison Jr., really. And now Rome Odunze, who just goes 6 of 11, 112 yards and a touchdown in last week's game. Bears offense showing some signs of life. Caleb Williams throws for over 300 yards. How comfortable are you putting Rome Odunze maybe top 10 dynasty wide receiver?
I don't know if he's top 10, but that's really not a knock on the kid's talent. We are potentially in the golden age of wide receivers. When you kind of look at the top 10, you can't leave Nico Collins out anymore.
No.
He's not only entered that conversation, but he's kicked out all doubts. And then, of course, Amon-Ra is still in there. I'm still absolutely have Garrett Wilson safely inside my top 10. A.J. Brown is right there. So he's not in my top 10, but he's not far out. It's just we're just dealing with some awesome young wide receivers right now. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, I mean, so I was listening to the Sonic Truth this week. Matt Podfather, he said that Odunze is kind of his most aggressive trade target right now, even coming off this big game. Like, because if it happens again, it's over with. Like this is really the last time to swoop in and get Odunze, I do think. And maybe that's not the case, right? I mean, it does look like Keenan Allen's returning this week, but as we talked about on Trade Gods when we did the whole NFC North, Rome Odunze is the Bears wide receiver I'm flag planting. Like, he's the one I want long-term and even this season because of his price. And I just don't know if you're going to be able to get a wide receiver like this at this cost for much longer. I mean, like, you could probably give like DK Metcalf for Rome Odunze. And it's just, I don't know, the career trajectory that we're getting from Odunze, what we see from him so far. I mean, the dude's playing through an MCL sprain and putting up these numbers. I mean, he is a dog. He is a true dog. So I want him really at any cost. Are you kind of looking at that the same way? Like, are you trying to acquire him, or are you just kind of waiting on Odunze a little bit longer?
I'm always trying to get as many of these guys as possible. That's just really always been my seasonal approach. And that's kind of why I play Dynasty mostly like redraft. I play my Dynasty teams in like series of 1 year stints. That's kind of how I always do it. For better or for worse. So I'm always trying to get into that level. I have CeeDee Lamb on some teams. So the goal is now to add another one of those top 10 guys, however I can. I agree with being aggressive on Rome Odunze. What I definitely disagree with is the fact that he's coming at any discount. Show me where. Where is Rome Odunze at a discount? I know in my leagues, if you put out fields for Rome Odunze, you might as well put out an offer for anyone in that top 10 range. He has been hyped. He has the draft capital. And now he has the breakout game. I don't think that there's a chance. I don't think there's a discount there. If there is, take it for sure. But I agree with being aggressive, no doubt. He's awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I'm trying to get Odunze, trying in an FFPC.
Yeah, right. It's hard, dude. It's freaking hard to get Odunze.
It's impossible,
and it was before that game. It was never easy to get Rome Odunze.
No, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Trip, 100% Trip. I mean, it's like, you could say I'm adding him everywhere, but you're paying everywhere then. There's no way you're like, ha, I pulled a quick one on Rome. Everyone's hip to how good this guy is. People have been screaming his praises now for months, and we saw it kind of actualize in a huge game in week 3.
Yeah, and there's going to be more on the table for that too. I really do think that this Bears took the right step forward. And with, cycling in all these running backs, spreading the ball a bit more, I do think that'll help Caleb Williams get more comfortable throughout this year. And, I really do hope that they turn it around.
It's got to be
invested in a lot of DeAndre Swift. I invested in too much DeAndre Swift, it's looking like, in Chicago. I really thought he could do it. Fell for the trap again. Now, that is a take I'm not feeling great about from this offseason. I was feeling good about DeAndre Swift probably overtaking this backfield, probably another 1,000-yard season, getting a ton of dump-offs from Caleb Williams as they try to get this rookie quarterback acclimated to the NFL level, leaning on that run game. Has not been the case, so I'm not feeling great about that take. Is there a take that you had this offseason that through 3 weeks you are also feeling really worried about?
Yeah, we can make it quick because we really already dove into it, but I was getting Malik Neighbors. I was aggressive taking him in the second, third round of my redrafts. I was all about Malik Neighbors. I took him at the 101 over Marv. I planted my flag on Malik Neighbors. And my thesis was always, I don't care who's throwing the ball. If you get this guy who's this talented, the ball 10 times a game, he's going to go berserk. And now we've seen him do it in a number of different ways. We had the high target game where they kind of force fed him. We've had the 2-touchdown game. We've had the floor. And at the point, people are like, see, look at his floor. It's like, now you look at his floor and you go, 11.6 fantasy points is the floor. Shit, this guy's here to stay. And then last night he goes absolutely nuclear, moves the ball. The offense looks decent. And, I hope Brian Daboll can find a quarterback because I do think he's a good head coach. I think he's a good offensive mind. Daniel Jones is looking okay because the weapons in the scheme. But Brian Daboll's always dreamed about getting a guy who can create such separation. He has that guy, and he's proving how dangerous he is with a guy like Malik Neighbors. So now the final step will be a quarterback that is actually going to elevate everything around them. Sam Darnold, maybe Sam Darnold finds his big contract in New York next year. Maybe Shador. We'll see how that plays out, but I need Daboll to get his quarterback before he gets fired.
Yeah, he'll definitely get that next year, more than likely. Whether it be Sam Darnold or a rookie, but it'll be someone over in New York chucking that ball to Neighbors. Probably better than Daniel Jones is right now. So that's a take you're feeling good about. What's one you're feeling a little like, ooh, I'm not feeling good about this one anymore?
This is already DED dead. It's bad. It's Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. I had pretty much convinced myself that Trevor Lawrence, after getting that contract, seeing all that hate, going into another year with Doug Peterson at the helm, that this team would look competent. It would look more mature. Yeah. I love the weaponry. I thought it was perfectly catered to his skill set, getting Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas, as well as having Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram. Ingram's now hurt. They're getting the shit kicked out of them. They've now, they're 0-3 on the road to 0-4. And at this point, it's good. Trevor Lawrence, I have him at quarterback 26 in my weekly rankings. He's absolutely tanked. I had him at quarterback 12 in week 1. No, quarterback 7, I think, is where he settled. I was convinced that Trevor Lawrence was going to be good this year. He was a good late-round quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. He might have spike weeks, but who cares?
They might turn it around. I hope they turn it around. I think
there's just too many fun fantasy players, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just like there's no way that Brian Thomas Jr. can't help Trevor Lawrence reach that next level. There's just no way, right? Like, come on.
I don't think he's ready to take over that wide receiver 1 role. I mean, it's maybe making a mountain out of a molehill, but that drop in the first drive for Brian Thomas was awful. I mean, it completely derailed that first drive, which led Josh Allen to hit the field and just not stop sprinting until the game was over after the first half. He's got to take these steps forward, which was his red flag. Being the number 2 in a Malik Neighbors offense, we're seeing what it could do for Wan'Dale Robinson. That's what it did for Brian Thomas Jr. If Christian Kirk, if Evan Ingram can come back healthy and kind of let Brian Thomas be more surgical in his targets, a la week 1, where he only had 4 targets, but he caught all 4 of them, scored a touchdown. That's, I think, where we'll see more success from Brian Thomas. And I'm hoping that it's not a completely lost season, because there are too many fantasy relevant players on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Or at least I hope there were.
Yeah, no, I think I got to expect them to turn it around, at least second half of the season. I don't know if it's a coordinator issue. I see the Harry Snowman saying that they just look like they have no life. I would agree. So maybe maybe it is a coaching thing. Maybe they're just not getting fired up for this game and showing up in the right way. But we did on Wednesday. We do our market watch here on Wake and Take, and I did say we need to start shopping around for Evan Ingram. I do think his return will help this offense. We've seen that before. Evan Ingram kind of throws some life into this offense, can have some of those spike weeks with Trevor Lawrence. So hopefully when he returns, they can get a bit more comfortable and figure out some things. Because like you said, there's just so many good assets on this team. I had a trade get vetoed yesterday, my first ever veto trade.
Whoa.
Never had it happen before. Redraft, buddy league. He hit me up. It's free league. He hit me up a couple weeks before the season. He was like, hey, I need one, I've got some friends want to get together. It'll be free. Just join if you want. I was like, sure.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, yesterday, trade hits my inbox. He was like, hey, I'm kind of interested in Jonathan Brooks. Would you take Travis Etienne for him? And I messaged him. Matty, I messaged him immediately. I said, yes, but would you do that? Trying to be honest and real with him. He was like, yeah, I would love to do that. And he sent it. I accept it. And then, yeah, the commissioner vetoed it. But
that's lame. That is not a vetoable trade.
I agree.
That is not a vetoable trade. That's lame. That commissioner deserves to be thrown in the gulag. That's bad.
Yeah, I know. I was like, come on. I need to ETN for Jonathan Brooks. But that just shows the Jaguars offense right now, huge lull in terms of their fantasy value, but there's still some studs. There's some studs out there. So if you can get them at a reasonable price, go ahead and do that. Now, speaking of, an injured running back and Jonathan Brooks, Christian McCaffrey's going to Europe now, going to Germany for some weird voodoo stem cell type surgery or something. Who knows what's going on in Germany? Are you worried? Because I'm terrified.
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely I'm at the point now where it's just shut it down then. Just shut it down. Like, we don't want the injury. We don't want his Achilles to rupture in week 14. That's worse than him missing all of this year. At least maybe we'll have him back in 2025. But yeah, in all the redraft leagues that I'm in where I took him early, which was only a couple, but he was the 101 everywhere. Your just teams are fucked already. They're already drowning because he was such a difference maker, such a high warp type player, and now he's done. I'm worried. You don't go to Germany seeking like Regenikine, those type of treatments if you're not worried.
Yeah, like come on, like like do we not have doctors in America?
Yeah, I mean that is the thing. I mean, I think Kobe went out there for his knee. Peyton went out there for his neck. It's like a Regenikine. They like take your blood, they put it in some stuff, they spin it around, they put it back. It's just this treatment that you have to go to Germany for. We don't do it here in America, which I would have been less worried if like this was plan A. If like it
Right.
was August 1st and they were like, hey, we have this hip kind of treatment over in Germany. He's going to go do it. It's going to work out, blah, blah, blah. But when you're going there after missing all this time, we've seen the timeline push back and push back and push back. The surprise inactive in week 1. Because remember, we all were caught with our pants down week 1. Yeah. If you didn't handcuff him with Mason, you were screwed. You went into Monday night with him in your starting lineup and did not have a replacement, probably. So it's just like it feels, and I can't say this with any certainty, but it feels like they were like, I don't know, go to Germany. And it's like, all right, I'll go try Germany. It's like, oh man, if we're there, it's time everyone should be worrying about McCaffrey.
Yeah, I agree. It's starting to look like, to me, in my eyes, that this is a Christian, please get healthy for our playoff run. That's what it looks like to me. This doesn't look like we're going to have much regular season Christian McCaffrey. So I would say, while Jordan Mason looks hot right now, he was kind of undrafted for a reason. I am curious if he can continue to handle that load throughout the year. I would definitely be taking some Isaac Guerrero stashes if he's out there. I do think that he had 5 carries this week. I do think that explosiveness in the Shanahan offense will eventually be a match made in heaven, especially with his size and speed combo. So I'm taking some shots on Guerrero. What about you? You stashing him as well?
Yeah, I think that's a smart move, having one on the bench. If you have the bench size to have a few like straight zeros, I always like having those type of rookie running backs because bye week start next week, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, listen up. Bye week start next week. So real fantasy football shit shows start in week 5.
Yeah.
We're going to see some ugly starting lineups. I want the guys like Guerendo's because you never know. Aaron Jones came to power, if you call it, after not 1 but 2 injuries to the Packers. It was a Thursday night, I remember it, and one of the guys in our league picked him up just because it was like, you know what if someone else gets hurt?
Yeah.
And then he went on to have Aaron Jones' top 5 production for years. You never know, so you got to have these guys on your team.
Yeah, definitely go ahead and stash them. And then I do just really quickly, yesterday we kind of went over what we would be offering for Christian McCaffrey, and to me, I'm staying within that kind of micro economy of old running backs. Like, I'm not really trying to send any youth for McCaffrey right now in Dynasty. I would be looking to offload an Alvin Kamara, offload a Joe Mixon, stay within that range, maybe a draft pick if I'm super competitive and think I can make it to that championship. Is that kind of where you're at too? Or you maybe feel a little bit riskier and wouldn't mind mortgaging a little bit of future for this guy?
I'm even worse than that. I'm the annoying guy in the league throwing low ball offers over because the risk, accruing that risk is it could change the direction of your rebuild or your contending team. So I'm not offering anything. I just keep peppering out little offers because if they get desperate and they accept it, fine. But you can't put risk out there. If you have Kamara, whether you're winning or not, trading for McCaffrey is not good process.
For sure.
If you're rebuilding, and if you have McCaffrey, what are you giving him up for? No one's giving you anything. If I could get a Kamara for him, I'm taking it. But everyone who has McCaffrey is still clutching too close. They're holding on too tight. So I just keep peppering little bad offers here. A couple seconds. Here, take a second. If they keep declining it, that's fine. But I'm not putting myself over my skis because if I move a future first, and this is serious, he is 28 years old. This is about the time where the wheels can fall off. I'm being hyper careful when it comes to Christian McCaffrey.
I
which
think
has
he
led to me
has.
getting 0 shares of him. I'll be honest. No one's
Yes.
giving me Kim McCaffrey on the low. No one.
Yeah, and that's fine.
It's
You know,
fine.
it's fine. It's a little off. I don't know. It's tough for me to do this. Now, I do want to ask. You're up in Boston. I've seen the Duncan. I see the Will Ford jersey.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Drake May. I imagine the radio, the media is starting to go a little bit wild and maybe calling for some Drake May starting action. Is that the case?
It's still split. It's still
Okay.
split. The hype was building, and then when you saw him in the game getting absolutely demolished at the end of that Thursday Night Football game, it subsided. There are some who have been calling for him to be the quarterback and learn on the fly, and they haven't changed their tune. And there are some who believe he should sit and learn behind the scenes, and that position hasn't really changed. So we're still pretty split up here in terms of the fan base, from what I can tell.
Okay. I don't know. I'm ready for him to start. I am. And maybe it's just the fantasy football.
We're split on the show because I think that we're clearly seeing that reps, we're seeing experience translates the most thoroughly when it comes to developing quarterbacks. And we're seeing that between the study right now we're seeing is Jaden Daniels versus Caleb. One guy got 2 years, one guy had 56 starts, and we're seeing how much of a difference that makes early on in your career. And Drake May is so green. He could develop such bad habits. And right now, the offensive scheme isn't even catered for his success. He's going to have to learn to play very conservatively, run the ball. And that's just not his skill set at this point in his career when he's feeling like Superman. I don't want to get him killed. I don't want to get him killed. And if you ask me when he should start, it should be week 1 of 2025. Let him learn all year long. I think it's bad.
Not even like week 15 after that late season bye week.
If you want to wait till week 15, you can convince me of that. Sure. Okay. There'll be injuries across. It won't be so. Not everybody will be playing red line every play. It might slow down for him a little bit with all of this time under his belt, learning the week in, week out process of being a starting quarterback. And I like the idea of him playing in mop-up duty. I'm totally okay with that. The NCAA approach of we're getting the shit kicked out of us. Drake, get in there and get some reps. We want reps, which sucks. And you got to keep, and you also got to keep the team happy. So if the team starts calling for Drake May, that's when we have to start thinking about it. But I just don't want to get this guy killed. He's so talented, and we see it out there. We see it at practice.
Yeah.
Drake May has a chance to be special. I don't want it to get ruined, because I felt that way about Bryce Young. I didn't think that the Panthers made the wrong call going Bryce Young. Mm-hmm. And we saw what not having a good foundation can do for the development of a young quarterback that doesn't have the reps. I don't want to be the Drake May.
That's fair. That's fair. I will say the more they bench him and the more limited action we see from him actually looking fine, the more I'm starting to feel very confident that this was a very good draft pick for them. Mm-hmm. I think this is a good fit. I like the weapons that they have around him. I think even Tyquan Thornton will be unlocked by his arm, really, once things really start firing on this offense. I do want to tell people, if you're in a super flex league, if Drake May is out there, because I see him available in a lot of waiver wires, redraft wise, I still think he's worth stashing. And if Jacoby Brissett gets hurt or something, he'll come in and, he's got some of those Josh Allen, Justin Herbert traits where he could just really put the team on a back and score some fantasy points, even if he's not pulling out the win. So I would still say, even in Dynasty, to try to acquire Drake May if you can in Superflex and single QB even. I have him as my QB3 in a single QB league, just in case. It could end up being something. So definitely acquirable right now. Definitely still has that ceiling. And but it does look like he'll be starting a little bit later, at least while Jacoby Brissett is healthy. Who knows how long that lasts, though, with that offensive line. It's terrifying.
It's bad.
Do they score another touchdown anytime soon? I feel like the Jets kind of crushed them, really.
Yeah, it's going to come from a Ramondre Stevenson 1-yard rush. That's about it. This game this weekend is going to be tough for them. It's going to be real tough.
Definitely.
Not as good.
So cool, man. Give me one more thought from the season so far. Could be a player to keep your eye on, something you're disappointed, something that's impressed you, but just we've had 3 weeks. Give us one more thing that's kind of caught your eye so far this year.
For me, it's the lack of horsepower that the Chiefs offense is operating under.
Yeah.
They're just okay with winning ugly. And they're looking to three-peat. They don't care about anything other than three-peating, and that could be bad for us for fantasy. And, Mahomes is being drafted as a top 4 quarterback, the first quarterback taken that wasn't really Konami. And in redraft, especially, you got to sell Pat Mahomes. Since their last 10 games, so last 2023 bye week, Mahomes is only averaging 18.5 fantasy points, and the team is winning. They've won 7 of the last 11 because he didn't play week 18, so his 10 last games, the Chiefs' last 11. They're 7-4. They won the Super Bowl. They don't give a rip about his stats in our fantasy teams, and it's shown. And Carson Steele looked adequate enough to run the ball, 14 carries, 74 yards up the middle, win football games late. I don't think there'll be big weeks. It's impossible to not have big weeks when you're Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, when you're loaded. But, man, I thought they would be hanging them up, and they're just not.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I thought that this was the year we would see Patrick Mahomes return. I mean, they invested in all these, just pass catchers. They kind of made the secondary a little bit worse. I really thought that we would see some kind of shootout Mahomes, but they just aren't.
Nope.
They're just simply not.
Nope.
And that's fine.
They got Slant Boy 2.0 Rashee Rice, and they're utilizing him to perfection.
They are. Would you sell Rashee Rice in Dynasty?
No, because you're not getting in that elite tier, and that's the only way I'm selling him.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I should say that if I want an elite asset back, but I mean, I feel like you could get a Devontae Smith plus for Rashee Rice right now. Or something.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not moving.
Not even an AJ Brown. You wouldn't trade him for an AJ Brown?
No, I wouldn't trade him for an AJ Brown. If I'm trading Rashee Rice right now in Dynasty, I need Marv, Malik, Nico, Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb, Jefferson, Chase. I need to sniff that top tier because he's going to be a top 5 wide receiver every single week in my rankings, and that's just. We'll deal with the suspension when that comes up again next summer. I was burned once giving a shit about the suspension that was looming and lost out on acquiring a ton of Rashee Rice. I'm not going to lose out on the superstar now. Another name that I would move him for, though, I wouldn't move him for Garrett Wilson.
Really? See, that's where I would still have Rashee Rice over Garrett Wilson. I don't know. I think you can get a nice return for this player right now, but we'll see. I mean, you should put your chips in this season, and Rashee Rice is going to help you win those chips. Now, let's move on to a little bit of a week 4 preview for everyone. Who's a player that you're keeping a close eye on this week?
For me, it's Anthony Richardson. I saw it in the chat that he's been real sad.
Yes.
And Rubio has been really sad about Anthony Richardson. So I'm keeping a very close eye on him this week. Tough matchup. Probably the worst matchup for a guy like Richardson with the linebacking speed that they have in Pittsburgh. TJ Watt is going to make his day miserable. I need to see it doesn't have to be a great game. It doesn't have to be a breakout game. Just show me you can operate a functional NFL offense, and I will be happy. Because Cody made this point the other day when we were talking. You can make the case that the Colts are 3-0 with Joe Flacco at the quarterback. And he also made the secondary point that if they suck this year, it's probably going to cost Chris Ballard his job. And if that's the case, we may see Flacco. We saw the first overall pick in that class benched. We could see the 4th overall pick in that class benched. So I need to just see something out of him this week. If not, I am going to full on panic, including in my dynasty shares. I will start panicking a little bit.
Man, I mean, I see people in the chat saying they're playing Sam Darnold over Anthony Richardson. I'm still not there.
I'm not quite. I'm there. I'm not quite there with you. I got Richardson this week at quarterback 10, but the only reason why he's at 10 is because his ability to run. But that hasn't translated to fantasy points either, and that's why he's under the microscope for me this week. Because if he does again in a bad way, yes, I will be looking to start Sam Darnold over him. I will be looking to start my Justin Fields over him. Caleb Williams will make the move over him in seasonal. So, this is a big game for him.
I know. I'm so sad. I finally acquired my first Anthony Richardson share, literally at 0. Was not able to get him. Finally got him in my home league, my favorite league. finally got him. Super flex. I traded Justin Fields and James Cook and Quentin Johnston for Anthony Richardson. It just came through, and it felt so right. I was like, ooh, that's nice.
It does
finally
feel right.
Anthony Richardson share. And I feel awful about it now. I think I would rather at this point just have Justin Fields and James Cook. Like, it's just...
Yo, for real.
It's like he looks awful. He looked like Anthony Richardson looks like how I played Madden when I was 12 years old. You know?
That's right.
It's like I'm going to call a play action pass or a read option or 4 verticals. And I'm just gonna throw an interception or throw a touchdown or run for 20 yards. And those are my only plays. Like,
yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah. The only difference being when you were 12 playing Madden, you could shut it off and play the game again until you got the result you want. You can't do that in the NFL.
No. And I probably still won the Madden game, even with the 7 interceptions. Because I also had 500 passing yards and like 8 touchdowns, because Madden doesn't really, you can just score at will, even if you're bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's not fun to watch. It's very concerning. Anthony Richardson is putting some bad film out there. I think he could turn it around. I don't think he's nearing bench territory. I don't know.
No, not yet. Not yet. But it could start getting hot in that consideration.
That seat could definitely start to get hot. Now, and Harry Stillman makes a good point. I also got better. I eventually turned into a 13-year-old playing Madden, and maybe did some quick slants instead of 4 verticals. All right. Who you starting this week? You had one start. Number 1 start. Who is it?
My number 1 start this week is B-Rob, Brian Robinson.
Ooh.
No Austin Eckler. He's going to get more of the passing down work. I think Jeremy McNichols holds him back from going full Super Saiyan, but an over-under 50 on the slate. It's one of the highest this week. At Arizona, Cliff Kingsbury revenge game. It feels like we're going to see a ton of points scored. And it's easy to forget because of how Eckler's looked good.
Yeah.
But we forget how the season started for the Commanders. It was a bad throw, swing pass to Brian Robinson, and then a screen to Brian Robinson.
Yeah.
We heard the reports he was doing a lot better in the pass catching, the passing attack this offseason. And I think that we see that in week 4 big time. So I love Brian Robinson this week. I have him as a top 10 play. I'm going all in on Brian Robinson.
I love it. My Josh Jacobs, Brian Robinson comp is starting to come to fruition. They're just the boring name, no athleticism, Alabama running back that can, for some reason, do it all really well. I don't know. He's a very interesting player, but I'm damn sure I'm happy that I have him. One of the better values of drafts this year. I mean, he was going 12th round for the most part in pretty much every draft or later. Going after Austin Eckler, I saw in a few drafts as we got closer to the season. I think so. A huge value for James Robinson this season. I do want to keep my eye on it. With Austin Eckler out, there was a running back at the Senior Bowl, Michael Wiley. He's on their practice squad. Very good pass catcher. I'm curious to see if he gets elevated. Maybe in your deeper leagues, guys take a little bit of a stash in case he does get elevated. Probably wouldn't do anything, but just in case, that was someone that impressed me down in Mobile. Has the pass catching chops. So I don't know. But who you sitting? You had one sit out there. Who you got?
It pains me to say this, but in seasonal leagues, I might be looking to bench Michael Pittman this week.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm starting Michael Pittman again, really.
I love Michael Pittman. I love the skill set of him, but he's not getting targeted.
Nope.
The offense doesn't seem to flow through the passing game at all, other than just chuck it deep to Alec Beers. I got him at wide receiver 30, but you could probably convince me to start guys like Romeo Dubes instead of him. It's starting next week now, I know you can't because he played last night, but Wando Robinson over Michael Pittman is going to be in the conversation for these flex plays. And remember, if you're in a 10-12 team or redraft, you have options on your bench that are scoring a lot more fantasy points than Michael Pittman. It does pay me to say it, but I'm sitting him this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to. I would look to. I'm even selling low on Michael Pittman. Really, I really think the only chance for him to return to Michael Pittman is Joe Flacco or being traded. Him and Anthony Richardson are not as good as Jason Allwine and Matty Kiwoom combo.
That's not even close,
not,
baby.
not
Not even
like,
close.
That's not even close. It's way too far away. So I can't. I'm with you. You've got to sit him for the foreseeable future. I mean, if you could sell him for God, I don't even know what to like. I might go bottom of the barrel. Really, we can bring up a Wan'Dale Robinson plus trade again, right? Like, what is that cherry? Might be nice. You might be able to get Chris Godwin for Michael Pittman. That ship might have sailed, but still, like, just like something like a Terry McLaurin, a Jaden Reed, maybe. Like,
I'm taking Jaden Reed in spade. Yeah. I'm taking Jaden Reed in Dynasty, I think, over him.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like, Michael Pittman, I don't want on my roster. I don't want him on my roster right now. I let him be someone else's problem because I'm not starting that player. And that, at his cost, that's a player you should be starting every week and not really have to think about unless it's a tough matchup. And
100%.
Even the good matchups, you don't want him out there. So it's definitely, I'm in panic mode for Michael Pittman, to be honest with you. Now, is there any players you're streaming? You've got a great segment on the game plan, the dumpster diving. You're searching for some of these guys out that you can maybe pick up and stream. Who's out there? Who's got some good matchups this week that might be heavily available?
So I'll give a running back streamer that might be a nice play this week. Emmanuel Wilson. On ESPN, he's only rostered in 8% of leagues. So he is somebody that is widely available, and he's been crazy efficient for the Packers. Had a really nice game last week, week 3. 12 attempts, 50 yards, did score a long receiving touchdown. He's proving to be fast. But when thing that kind of stands out to me, he's one of the most effective players on a per touch basis at the running back position. He's got a 0.14 EPA per attempt, which puts him in the top 10 amongst all players, including quarterbacks. It's one of those things where typically you see a guy with hyper efficiency. What did that do? It pleases the coaching staff. Then the volume goes up just enough where he could be viable. And I think with Emmanuel Wilson, he's clearly going to be the running back 2 going forward. Both Dylan being out for season and Marshawn Lloyd on the IR right now. They're happy with Wilson. And in this game against the Vikings, that defense has been tough. So they may look for big kind of, these big plays, these splash plays with a guy like Emmanuel Wilson, who's proven to do that in this short season. So if you're kind of screwed where, you drafted McCaffrey and you had Eckler and you had Mixon and you've been relying on these running backs and you're just kind of screwed and you're looking for a desperate play, Emmanuel Wilson is someone I might be streaming this week.
That's a fun one. I mean, we just saw him get like 50. I think he split it with Josh Jacobs last week. I think it was right.
It was a pretty clean split last week. Yeah. Yep.
And that's very intriguing, for sure. Especially as we've seen the Packers just do this time and time again. AJ Dillon, Aaron Jones, and Josh Jacobs had the lion's share the first couple of weeks, but didn't look too great with it. I would argue it at least looked good. I think he was doing all right. But Emmanuel Wilson looking just as good as opportunities. You bring up the EPA. Very intriguing player. Very intriguing player. I think that's a fun little streamer right there. And to the audience, we talked about it yesterday as we went through the injury report. It's Jerome Ford, popped up on the injury report for the Browns. So I do think Deontay Foreman is someone to go ahead and start throwing on your roster just in case, because he'll probably end up being like a Sunday ad for a lot of people if Jerome Ford does end up missing for the Browns. So keep that.
Ford was back at practice yesterday, so he's on track to play.
Cool.
But Freeman's getting luck anyway. I mean, when you're desperate, you're desperate for a touchdown.
Yeah,
Deontay Foreman's fallen into pay dirt a lot over his career.
He is. That's just what he does. So Matty Kiwoom, my trade god brethren. It's money moves. It's money moves. We're making some money. Who you stashing to help you win the league later this season?
Who am I? I typically like to stash running backs. I think that they kind of pay off in the biggest way for teams. Someone that I'm stashing, and I think we're going to be losing chances to get him cheap, is Tyrone Tracy. I'm stashing Tyrone Tracy. Last night he had a couple really nice plays for the Giants, and they weren't able to run it. And Brian Daboll made a statement that we just weren't able to run the football, and I think that's why we saw so many short passes to Wan'Dale and to Malik Neighbors. If Motor Singletary doesn't do it for this offense, they'll look elsewhere. And Tyrone Tracy's got the size, the speed. Yeah. He's kind of an all-purpose back. These are the type of guys that they emerge and they can really kind of take over leagues. kind of on the lines of a Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen, you might have missed the ship. He's being stashed pretty much in most leagues now. But that next guy up for me is Tyrone Tracy. I'm stashing him.
I like that. I think that's a really fun call. He looked pretty good last night. There was a play he got like kind of backflipped and he landed on his feet and kept running. They blew it dead. I don't think they should have. I was a little mad about that play because it was pretty sick. It would have been a nice highlight, but and he had a couple nice catches, good little scurries. And this was a player that Player Profiler, Podfather, a lot of people were in on with this landing spot, and even before the landing spot, really. He's a wide receiver turned running back. That's just a player profiler, we like here at Player Profiler. So it should be nice. I do think it'll turn out at some point for him. And so that's a good stash for me. It's, a Kamani Vidal. Really, any of these backup running backs, you mentioned the bye weeks, they're starting to pop up. If you see anyone drop a Trey Benson, a Blake Corum, a Jalen Wright, a Marshawn Lloyd, go ahead, pick up those rookie running backs with the juice on the good offense. Those are definitely players you need to stash for the second half of the season. And it's time. We'll start to see that. We'll start to see these interesting drops as the weeks come through. So just stash anyone like that in case they do get dropped. Now, if you had one buy, you had one player, you had a little coupon that you could add them to your roster. Who are you trying to trade for right now?
So my big seasonal buy right now, today, you have to do this now, is Travis Kelce. You have to buy Travis Kelce, especially in seasonal leagues. The landscape at tight end's been so bad, and that's been because, the guys like Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce haven't done anything. But this stat blew my mind. This absolutely blew me away when I looked this up. So the last 3 matchups, Chiefs in LA. Kelce loves Los Angeles. Yes. At the Chargers in 2001, 10 catches, 191 yards, 2 touchdowns, 46 fantasy points. 2022 at LA, 6 catches, 115 yards, 3 touchdowns, 40.5 fantasy points. Last year in LA, another massive game for Travis. Oh, not in LA. This was he didn't play in LA, but against LA last year. 12 catches, 179 yards, and a touchdown, 40.9 fantasy points. He has a 40-point streak against this team. They have no Dalton. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Derwin James, but I was actually going to bring that up.
There's no Derwin James.
He's done all this against Derwin James.
Right.
Which means he's not going to do it this time, right? He doesn't have Derwin James to embarrass.
I can't say he's going to go for 40 points. That's bold. I will say this, after seeing that stat, I did put him as my tight end 1 on the week. Certain trends I'm not ignoring. They need a get-right game. And listen, folks, it's week 4. If he goes for 30 points, his seasonal averages will look right back. They'll come right back. It'll level everything. And I know he's looked a little old, looked a little slow. These type of players, they get better as the season going on. And I'm just not – are you at the point to say to yourself, I don't need Travis Kelce. I have Cole Kmet. I don't need Travis Kelce. I have Mike Gesicki. I don't need Travis Kelce. I have Dallas Goedert. I'm sorry. I'm just not there yet. Give me Kelce. I'm looking to buy everywhere in seasonal right now.
So that is an interesting one, bringing up Goedert. Just had a huge game, looking like he's going to get volume. Would you trade Goedert straight up for Kelce? Or I think you might be able to pull off a plus after that week.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm selling them for if I can get a plus. And if I have to do it straight up, we can make the deal straight up. Because once A.J. Brown gets back, once Devontae Smith gets back, Dallas Goedert goes to being a good NFL tight end, but not the fantasy monster that he's been. Now, last week was awesome, but he was the only show in town. He was the only guy there. Devontae Smith was hurt, and it was just him. They were relying on him for big plays, and he made big plays. But, I mean, they were massive chunk plays. It's just not quite there yet for me, for Dallas Goedert over the long term. But I'm not giving him away, though. I'm not saying give him away. But if you can get Mark Andrews for Dallas Goedert, Travis Kelce for Dallas Goedert, I'm doing it.
I think you have to. I think you have to, too. That's a big sell right now. Now, we got a super chat before we move on. Got to acknowledge the super chat. Thank you so much, Demetrios. I'm not a big DST guy, so this might not be great for you, but Dolphins or Vikings defense, off the top of my head, I'm going Vikings this week. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going Vikings. I like what Brian Flores is doing, the way he's attacking and making opposing teams make really bad mistakes. So I'm going to go with the Vikings. The only thing I will say, though, Demetrius, the only thing I will put out there for the Dolphins, sometimes when it's a tie, I just pick the guy who's on Monday night because it can't be a bad game if it hasn't happened yet. And you'll always have that chance on Monday. Call it the fizz, the final fizz over at South Harbor. So if that tickles your fancy, you could go with it. But if you want just my straight analysis, I'm going with the Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, they just look like the better defense.
They
Now,
look
they do
awesome.
have the Dolphins do have the Levis effect, so they might get a couple interceptions, but I think you just go with the better defense in this case, especially with the Dolphins not looking that great. Now, who are you selling right now before it's too late?
Man, this is a tough question because selling sometimes at this point of the year feels like, he could keep going. He could keep going. So but if I'm selling something, I hate to say it, I'm selling Tyreek Hill. I still think you can get something for him.
Yeah.
You're just hoping for one big pop and move on.
Yeah.
Could Tua come back? Sure. But in our seasonal leagues, if you're 1-6, you're done. You're left on the side of the road. You're dead. So he's my seller because I think you can get a guy like a Khalil Shakir and a running back of like Jerome Ford's ilk, or someone that's going to start, someone that's going to play. I think you can turn your season around still with Hill. So for that reason, I got to sell him. But it sucks. He looks so good in week 1. So good.
I mean, he could still turn it around, and after that, I would definitely look to sell. Tyreek Hill was our biggest sell on this show heading into the season. I didn't understand why him as a 31-year-old wide receiver was way more expensive than the other 30-plus-year-old wide receivers. So I was trying to kind of bridge that gap, do a little bit of a tear down there. And you could still do that. You could probably right now take Tyreek Hill and get Cooper Kupp in a first, really, or maybe a second. But because of Cooper Kupp's injury, that's
from a dynasty sell point, I don't think I'm selling it at this low price right now. I mean, if you can get Cooper Kupp in a first, if I can get Cooper Kupp straight up for Hill, I might play him. But I'm talking more of a seasonal thing because, Harry Snowman in the chat said Tua could be back in 4 weeks. But in seasonal, if you lose those 4 weeks, you're done. It's over. Your season's done. It doesn't matter if you have Tyreek Hill. But in dynasty, I'll be a little bit more reluctant to let go because I do think there's a spike week to happen this season with Tua. And at that point, yeah, there's a jumping off point for me, but I'm not selling Tyreek Hill for a first right now, straight up. I don't love the class enough to move it. Unless you tell me it's a top 5 locked. If you're telling me you could bring in a Ted McMillan, a Luther Burden, then I'm interested. But at that point, I don't think you're getting that for Hill right now. A lot of people are nervous.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Now, before we get into your hot take, I do just want to say Lucas is asking about the show starting early. We went early today because at 10 a.m., which is right now, I don't know if they're going live immediately, but Matt Kelly and Alex Dunlap of Roster Watch, they're starting a brand new show called Content Kings. Highly recommend checking it out. Just 2 titans of the industry, hashing it out about the fantasy football, some of the things they've learned, kind of more behind the scenes. So check out for that episode. Should be going live here shortly. Now, Matty Kiwoom, give us a hot take for the rest of the season.
My hot take for the rest of the season is Travis Kelce still finishes as tight end 1 on a points per game basis.
Wow. That's pretty hot. I don't know if I'm that bold. I do think he could turn it around a little bit, but number 1 points per game. I mean, it makes sense, right? All the tight ends kind of slow right now. It's definitely open, definitely possible. So that's a fun one. You're not giving up on Kelce. I knew you never would.
Listen, I can't give up on Kelce. And listen, if you were to tell me that the top 5 was Kincaid and Laporta and Bowers and Pitts, and it was like these young guys took the step up and became what we were hoping they become, McBride, all these guys, then I wouldn't be that bold. But if you're telling me he just has to be better than Dallas Goedert, Mike Gesicki, yes. Cole Kmet, yes. Travis Kelce could be better than those guys.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, that's a very fun hot take, Matty Kiwoom. Thank you so much for joining. This was another fun episode. As always, love having you on. Love having you. It's the best.
This hour went by too fast, Jason. It went
too fast.
Too fast.
Too fast. It always does. But tell the people where they can find you, all the fun stuff you're working on right now.
Head over to X. Yes, I've made the transition fully. I'm a full X admitter now. I know Twitter's out of my zeitgeist. It is X. So you can follow me on X at Matty Kiwoom. And just head over to southharmonff.com. You can get all our pods there. You can find all our videos there. You can find our warp tools, our rankings, our articles, everything over at southharmonff.com. So check that out.
Yeah, definitely go check that out. And B Hockey, I know we didn't get into much Q&A in the show today, but it's just because we have a show that we're trying to finish up beforehand. Definitely keep tuning in. We will be back with some questions and answers. We always do it. We answered a few in the show as well as we went along, but we did our best. We did our best, B Hockey. Matty Kiwoom, incredible guest work.
B Hockey, go over to the Content King stream and spam them with start later in the day and do not infringe upon Wake and Take, because Jason and I would have sat here for another hour and answered your questions, but due to time constraints, we got to get on out of here.
Yeah, we do. We do. And speaking of, let's go ahead and do that. Follow Matty Kiwoom on Twitter at Matty Kiwoom. Go check out South Harmon. Go check into the game plan this Sunday. Get everything right. Incredible content coming out from my friend all the time. Make sure you're following him everywhere you can. Now, everyone, you all have a fantastic Friday, a wonderful weekend. Make sure you tune into Wake and Take on Sunday morning as we give our top starts and sits of the week. Make sure you tune into the TikTok and Instagram live streams on Player Profiler for some start-sit questions. And make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe on your way out. Have a great day and good luck in week 4. Peace.
B Hockey, get